Hello everyone, welcome back to the Life Plus channel. Today we're tackling one of the oldest perceived battles in modern thought, Darwinism versus Christianity. At the end of this video, I will argue that both sides have more in common than most people admit, especially when it comes to the concept of miracles and the role of faith. We're going to define our terms clearly, look at the core claims of each worldview, define what a miracle actually is, and then see how both natural selection and the resurrection of Jesus stack up against that definition. Let's dive in. First, let's define an organism, a term central to understanding Darwinism. An organism is any individual living thing that can carry out the basic activities of life, such as taking in energy, eating or photosynthesis, growing and reproducing. It can be something simple, like a single bacterial cell, or something complex, like a tree or a human being. Now, to define Darwinism, today it usually refers to the modern evolutionary theory or system of ideas that all life on Earth, from human beings to trees and animals, is fundamentally related because it descended from a single, simple, common ancestor. This evolution would have occurred over billions of years and was primarily driven by two natural processes: mutation, a random change in the organism's DNA sequence that creates variation, and natural selection, the process by which organisms better adapted to their environment are more likely to survive and pass on those helpful traits. The most foundational and controversial part is abiogenesis, the idea that at some point billions of years ago, non-living chemicals gave rise to the first living, self-replicating organism. Once that first cell existed, Darwinian evolution can, in principle, take over. So the absolute bedrock claim of a purely naturalistic Darwinian worldview is life came from non-life, and mind-boggling complexity arose without any guiding intelligence, entirely through blind, unguided processes. The absolute core historical claim of Christianity is that 2,000 or so years ago, a man named Jesus of Nazareth claimed to be God incarnate, was crucified under Pontius Pilate, was genuinely dead, and then rose bodily from the dead on the third day, appearing to hundreds of witnesses over 40 days. The Apostle Paul says in 1 Corinthians 15, "If Christ has not been raised, your faith is futile." So Christianity stands or falls on one miraculous event, the resurrection of Jesus. Now, let's define the word miracle fairly, because this is where things get interesting. A miracle, in the classic philosophical sense, going back to David Hume and beyond, is a violation of, or an exception to, the ordinary laws of nature brought about by a supernatural agent. In other words, if something happens that nature, left to itself, would never do and could never do, and it happens in a religiously significant context, we call that a miracle. Example: water turning into wine instantly. A dead man walking out of a tomb after 3 days. These are not just extremely improbable, they are naturally impossible. Here's the twist most people miss. If the universe is a closed system of natural causes, if matter, energy, time, and the laws of physics are all there is, then the appearance of the first self-replicating organism or living thing from non-life is also naturally impossible. Simple chemical reactions alone cannot suddenly create the complex instruction manual, like DNA, the sophisticated internal machinery, or the full capacity for life that evolution would require. Nobel laureate and atheist Francis Crick, co-discoverer of DNA, admitted, An honest man, armed with all the knowledge available to us now, could only state that, in some sense, the origin of life appears at present to be almost a miracle. So many are the conditions which would have had to have been satisfied to get it going. Dean Kenyon, once the world's leading chemical evolutionist, abandoned the field because he concluded that no physico-chemical mechanism can explain it. So here's the irony. The naturalist must believe that nature, left to itself, once did something that nature left to itself can never, ever do again: produce life from non-life. That sounds suspiciously like a miracle. Except the naturalist has to insist it happened without a supernatural agent. In other words, they need a miracle without a God to perform it. Christianity is more straightforward. It openly declares, yes, dead people stay dead. That's the ordinary law of nature. But God raised Jesus from the dead. It admits the event is naturally impossible and attributes it directly to supernatural power. No hiding, no redefining terms. It's a miracle, full stop. So let's be intellectually honest here. The Christian believes one miracle: the resurrection, and whatever miracles were required to create the universe and life in the first place. The naturalistic Darwinist must believe that, in the deep past, nature performed at least one stupendous miracle on its own, getting life from non-life without any intelligent cause, and then conveniently stopped doing miracles forever so we can all do science. Both worldviews begin with an event that lies far outside ordinary natural experience. Both require a measure of faith. Faith either in the God who raised Jesus, or faith in unknown, unrepeatable, undetectable natural processes that somehow beat 1,000,000,000,000 odds. The real question isn't which side believes in miracles. It's which miracle is more reasonable to believe actually happened. Or better yet, which side needs the bigger miracle? That's a conversation worth having. If this video made you think, hit the like button, drop a comment with your thoughts, respectful discussion only, and subscribe for more content that doesn't shy away from the big questions. Thank you for watching.